Pittsburgh Steelers fans, it is time once again for another episode of the BTSC Steelers Post-Game Show. Wow. Merry Christmas, my friends, or whatever you are celebrating. God bless you, and God bless the Pittsburgh Steelers. God bless Franco Harris. What a game. I'm excited. I really wasn't supposed to be on this show tonight, but when the Pittsburgh Steelers win a game like that, 13-10, with 46 seconds to go, and then clinch it with a Cam Sutton interception, man, I'm like, hey, I don't want to step on your toes, guys, but I've got to celebrate this as well. Joining me this evening, in for Jeff Hartman, in for Dave Schofield, is another Schofield. We've got Big Bro Scho, and we've got Daniel J. And hey, Jeff and Dave are doing plenty of work right now. They are not dogging it. They are doing so much for the website right now, getting everything ready. And Jeff has a special podcast coming up real soon. But boys, wow, how are you feeling? Wow. Big Bro Scho, hello. Merry Christmas.
My goodness. You know, I'll say this. I'm feeling really good. I'm sitting on the couch, right in the knee jerk, and the Steelers get down into the red zone on that last drive, and I'm like, why do I feel like they're just toying with my emotions? They're so close, so close. Next play, pick it to Pickens. Loved it.
Daniel J., Merry Christmas. What are your knee-jerk reactions from this game, my friend?
Merry Christmas, y'all. Merry Christmas, Steelers Nation. We got an early Christmas present tonight. Rest in peace, Franco Harris. That was an awesome tribute to him, not just by the the halftime ceremony, but also by the players walking into the stadium, sporting his number 32 jersey. That was amazing. Mm-hmm. My knee-jerk reaction was, I said it earlier today. It came out earlier on a podcast for Behind the Steel Curtain that the Steelers needed to get back to old school football, and they did on the defensive side, and they came up huge, and they won this game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was a big game.
Big game indeed, and I know the fans that were there in frigid temperatures, man, they helped will the Steelers to that win. Tyler W. was one of them, and he gives us $5 in the tip jar. Thank you so much for the super chat. Just got back to the car after the game. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Oh, man, filthy and fun, filthy and excitement. I love it, Tyler W. Get warm, man. Get some coffee, get some hot chocolate, whatever's going to get you warm. Get home safe, too, my friend. Thank you so much.
He might still feel a little bit cold, but tell you what, I'm sure he's plenty warm right now because it's a lot easier walking back to the car after a Steeler W.
Absolutely. And Mike Tomlin on his press conference, two things I want to bring up right away about Mike Tomlin in that press conference is this. One, he was sporting the 32 jersey himself. And it was fantastic to see him wearing that in the press conference. He talked about the older players there, the veterans. He didn't mention Franco by name, but he didn't have to. And I think he did that. He did that for a reason. But he said, the man that I am honoring wearing this jersey tonight. And he said, it was so special to be able to do that for him. He also said, when asked about the frigid temperatures, he said, you know what? We don't notice the cold until you're either winning definitively or you're getting smashed. Exact words, getting smashed. And he said, so you don't notice it because you're in that zone. And, does that make sense to you, Daniel J.?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've been in stadium a couple of times, and well, it hasn't been this late in the season when I've been there in Pittsburgh, but I've been there at the end of the games, and when the Steelers are playing close games, you don't feel the frigidness, you don't feel the wind. It's all hands on deck, ready to go for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Big Bro Scho, I gotta ask you the same thing, and then I've got to ask both of you another question regarding the frigidness tonight. Big Bro.
All right. So I was never a football player, but however, I was a baseball player. And growing up here in Western Maryland, I played baseball games with snow falling from the sky. And I will say that, yes, as long as you were in the game, really at a place where you were competing, you didn't notice it.
My good friend Mike Smith what a game. I know Mike was at the game too. If that's the same Mike Smith, and I think it was. Merry Christmas, everyone. So glad. And I believe my cousin was at the game tonight too. That makes me want to ask you fellas, are you glad you sold your tickets? You guys are both season ticket holders. Are you glad to be home, or did you want to be a part of that? Big bro.
I would have liked to have been there. This was not originally my game. I could have gotten a hold of the tickets I split. I eventually could have gotten a hold of Dave's tickets if I liked. And then also was in kind of had an invite from someone we see in our live chat from time to time, Thaddeus Kennedy, was to be going to the game tonight, but his friend bailed on him, so then he wasn't sure if he was going to go or not. At that point in time, I said, "Oh, sorry, got work to do for the website. You know, I can't join you." Would have been fun to be there, but all in all, with it being Christmas Eve, I'm glad I'm home.
Daniel J., you're in Texas. What's the weather like there?
Oh man, it's cold. It's in the 20s though. It's not anywhere near what it is down up north. Yesterday it was about 17 degrees and nobody left their house. And so I couldn't imagine being out there tonight and where it felt like -5, I think is what the forecast was saying on the game. Yeah. As far as my tickets, I gave them away on my channel to a subscriber. So I'm glad I wasn't there. I'm glad I'm staying here in Texas, but I will be there for the Browns game. So who knows? It might be colder then.
Daniel J. will have to meet up. I'm going to be at that one as well.
You didn't
awesome.
Make a detour to Maryland so I can meet you, or just ditch your date and let me go to the game with you, Daniel J.
It'll be my father. Maybe we'll head out there and meet both of you guys.
Yeah, you never ditch dad. No. Monster 19. Monster, one of my very favorites, just because he's always so happy in that avatar of his. That's just a great picture. Merry Christmas to all, and to all an immaculate night. Monster gives us $4.99. Thanks so much, Monster. It is so great to see all these. My sister asked me, she said, "Why do you have to work tonight?" Because I was at their house. She's like, "Can't they go a night without a podcast?" I'm like, "No, you don't understand. They will be there, win or lose. There'll be a bunch of eyes on us, and people will be listening. And it's important that we're there with them. And it's important to be a part of this." So, and I see all these names that we know so well. And then I'm seeing some new names, and that's just as special. So you guys are all perfect. Thank you for showing up with us. And thank you for all of the, we're getting a lot of super chats here. Topher Daniel, $4.99. We got a young offense. Kenny, Muth, Pickens, and Harris. Like Pink Floyd, give it time, ticking away. Ha ha. Gotta love it. I mean, man, you guys Daniel, you look like a Pink Floyd guy.
Yeah, I'm he's a little bit before me, but my father got me into some of the rock of the 80s and 90s. And so, I've listened to a little bit of Pink Floyd in my time.
Big Bro's a DVE type of guy.
Oh, yeah. Big Bro grew up on and still listens to DVE at times. So,
I could get DVE on iHeart, and I'd like to actually do it more. So, we're getting a lot of super chats. We are going to go ahead and get into the box scores. We're going to talk about the game, but we've got to get these in here. Tom likes to give us $1 for every win, $1 for every W. For Franco, it was just as ugly a win as the Immaculate Reception game. So in a way, it was fitting. Yes, Tom Muir, it was. Merry Christmas, BTSC fam. And man, I think Tom Muir is a West Coast guy, and his avatar, he's on the beach there. That looks perfect. Somewhere where I'd like to be right now, but man, I would have loved to have been at the game. And now this is great. We are getting temperatures from all around, and it's great. We've got Jennifer Pruser. She's always on the post game on a lot of our shows. -16 in Wisconsin right now. Sharon Rose Markle is saying it's -2 in Ohio, 13 degrees in Mechanicsburg, not too far away from where I am right now, and I believe it's 8 here in Maryland where I'm at. Let's go to Evgeny Crosby, another mainstay here, $5. Hey, everyone, I got some shocking news. The Baltimore Ravens are going to run the football like a lot next week. So get on your big boy pants. Yep. But it's a whole lot easier 3 weeks later, isn't it, Daniel J?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And, this defense has gotten a little bit stingy when it comes to the running game. You look at what they did this week. You look what they did last week. I think they're trending in the right direction when it comes to the running game. I think they'll be ready for the Ravens this upcoming week.
Big bro. So what are you thinking? I mean, I know we need to talk about tonight, but he gave us $5 to talk about next week real quick. Just, they shut down Josh Jacobs, and he is a leading rusher. He's the leading rusher in the league.
Yeah, that was real important tonight, and we'll get into that some more as we go on. But the fact that they were able to do that gives me some confidence, especially here back-to-back weeks. We took Carolina, who had run for over 200 yards prior to the week we played them. They ran for 200 yards today. We held them to 21 yards. We hold Josh Jacobs down tonight. The Raiders as a team tonight, I'll go ahead and pop this little stat out there, ran for 58 yards on 19 carries, 3.1 average. Okay. The Steelers can do that kind of play that kind of run defense against the Ravens next week. I like the Steelers' chances.
Absolutely. Evo G, 7 a.m. here in Bulgaria. He's checking us out. Merry Christmas. Matt Beckwith has 55 in Albuquerque. Kathy Ford, another one of our mainstays, 23 degrees. Curtis in Texas, 26 there. Jerry Cherry, 16 in Brooklyn. And Steelers Fanatic 78 is telling us it's California, Los Angeles, 57 degrees Fahrenheit. Frosty the Bear in Berkeley Springs, not too far from me. Probably about 45 minutes from me. 12 degrees, feels like -4. Wow. George Teston saying 9. Wow, I got to tell you, I love seeing all the temperatures. We've got another super chat here. Sean the Don. I like Sean the Don. I like that $20. The Don is taking care of us, making us an offer we can't refuse in the super chat. Thanks, Sean the Don. Merry Christmas. Did it for Franco. Ain't nothing better for Christmas. Mahalo and Merry Christmas from Hawaii. Sean the Don. What's the temp in Hawaii right now?
No, don't. I don't even want to hear it. Because right now, I'm sitting at 5 degrees, which is actually 12 degrees warmer than it was at this time yesterday.
Tom Muir is on the East Coast, $4. Nope, East Coast, $1 for every degree. We're getting dollars for wins, dollars for degrees. I got to tell you, wow, I'm feeling good.
You missed one earlier, Bad. We got to get that one up there.
Which one, Evgeny?
Yeah, did you get his?
Yeah, we got Evgeny.
So sorry.
He gave us $5.
That's right.
Thanks for the 5. But no, help me out with that. -40 wind chill in Iowa. Wow, says Hitman. That is some cool stuff.
That's where I was last night.
You were in Iowa last night?
No, we were in the -40s for the wind chill. I'm serious. Okay, Dave's not here. We do share a last name, so I will take just a moment and make a Star Wars reference.
Love it. Jeff's not here, so that's okay because he doesn't.
This up until about 4 o'clock this afternoon, although we're still getting some wind around here, but yesterday and today so windy, and with the snow, I'm telling you, you were on Hoth. That's what it looked like here,
man.
And it was windy and cold and snow. And I told my wife, she was like, going to go out to the store. I said, what are you going to go out on Tauntaun? It was cold.
Yeah, like Kyle's fighting a wampa and then then slitting open the Tauntaun and freezing inside until you warming up inside until you pick him up, huh?
Yes. Well, you know the joke, right?
No.
Oh, okay. Jeff's not here, so I'll do it. Do you know the internal temperature of a Tauntaun?
No.
It's lukewarm.
All right, come on. Let's get to it. Pittsburgh passing. Kenny Pickett was 26 for 39. And this is a win with over 20, with over 30 passes.
Yeah.
And that has not happened yet. So he broke that streak. 26 for 39, 244, 6.3 average, a touchdown, an ugly interception, an 81.6 rating. Daniel J., thoughts on Kenny Pickett?
I thought I thought he had a little bit of an up and down game. I think he put it together at the end, and this wasn't a game that I thought was going to be high scoring just because of the temperature. And so, I predicted the team would only score about 13 points, which is what they did, and had, Boz, connected a few more times, it would have gone well past that. And so, my thoughts on Kenny Pickett is that I think he progressed a little bit. And the way you can see that is when he was put in this position to win the game against Miami, he threw 2 picks. And in this game, he threw a touchdown to win. And so that's progression. That's moving in the right direction. That's what you want to see. And I think he did a fantastic job doing that.
Big Bro, Lester Holmes says Pickett looks like Ben in the early years. I like that. How did you like his progression tonight?
It was okay. He goes through streaks in games where he gets inaccurate with his passes. And I'm really hoping that some work in the offseason will help remedy that some, because he'll go through a series or two and he's cruising along. You're like, here we go. Then the next thing you know, he comes out and the Steelers end up with a 3 and out because he throws 2 passes that aren't anywhere close. But overall, I thought he played pretty well tonight. He did throw for 244 yards with the weather that they were dealing with. Maybe we can put that he can't throw in the cold with his little bitty hands and all the gloves. Maybe we can put all that behind us now, because I think he did show tonight that he is able to do that.
Sherry Richards says that final drive proves this is Pickett's team now. Yeah, I have got to agree with that. I really felt like that's the case. But let me ask you this. Kenny Pickett hasn't played in a while. He did not. I mean, when was that game? December 8th or December 9th when actually it was the 11th when he only threw a couple passes against the Ravens. So, I mean, he's basically hasn't played for significant snaps for 3 weeks. So with that being said, do you think rust was a big part of it, Daniel?
Yeah, now that you mentioned that, he's also coming off of a concussion, and usually, especially quarterbacks, their first game back from a concussion isn't typically their best outing or performance, so to speak. And so, there's a lot of factors that go into play in this game. You had the weather, you had the rust, you had the coming off of a concussion, and the fact that he was able to just turn it all around and take the team down and score a touchdown at the end of the game. I think that also kind of alludes to maybe some of that rust coming off.
That final drive, Big Bro Scho, was that it for you?
I'll tell you what. Here's what I really liked in that final drive that I don't think we had seen yet this year. Okay, Kenny looked very confident making that drive. Like, that was a confidence from him we hadn't really seen. But beyond that, it looked like the players on the field with him had plenty of confidence in him. It was the first time the Steelers were making a drive like that this year where I felt everybody was in sync, everybody was on the same page, and they really looked like a unit.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the running game right now. But before we do that, we have another super chat here. It's Cass, and I've got to go ahead and bring up Cass. There we go. I was in a bar full of Raider fans. That last minute felt so sweet. What an immaculate win and a Christmas miracle. $4.99 from Cass. Thank you so much, Cass. Wow, I would have loved to have been in a bar full of Raider fans, and I've got a good buddy that is a Raiders fan, and I never talked smack to him, but he was talking smack to me this week, even about the immaculate reception, which he calls the immaculate incompletion. So I'm going to have to say a little something to my buddy Joe on that one. But Cass, thanks so much awesome stuff. And Cass is in Alaska right now. And I'm going to bring this up too. It's -20 in Alaska right now. So, well, there. I mean, that's just look another Tuesday, right?
Right.
In Alaska. Let's talk about the running game. Najee Harris, 16 carries, 53 yards, 3.3 average, a longest of 14. Jalen Warren was 6 for 23, a 3.8 average, a long of 13. Kenny Pickens was 3 for 9. You know, usually he runs for a whole lot.
Pickett?
Kenny Pickett?
Yeah,
is that what I said?
No, you said Kenny Pickens. See, you
I don't think I did. I'm
gonna
go back. I'm willing to bet my head
free. You feel free. Throw the red flag.
I'm throwing the red flag. I can't do it this second, but I'm telling you, right. I know I said Pickett on that one, and so I'm going to make a $1 bet with you, just like trading places. And
done.
All right. And I'll be glad to pay.
Can I get on this bet? Because
well,
I know what I heard too.
What did you hear? You said you heard Pickens too?
I heard Pickens.
Okay, so I might be dead in the water, but I'm still going with it because I'm just stubborn. Connor Hayward, not Cameron. Connor Hayward, 1 carry, 21 yards, and that was pretty much one of your clinchers in this game, the clincher in this game. Absolutely. Fantastic. The Steelers as a team, 27 carries, 106 yards. So they ran for over 100, 3.9, and that longest by Connor Hayward. Was there any bigger run in this season than that 21-yarder, big bro?
I don't know, but it sure was nice to be able to seal that game and not have to punt the ball. That was the biggest thing. The Steelers were going to have to punt the ball with probably under 10 seconds left, potentially, if they don't make a first down. So just that run at that time was huge.
All right. Everybody is backing you guys. So it looks like I owe you guys both $1. I'm not even going to go back because I'm just going to listen to what everybody said. I even got a bra, you said, Pickett. So when you get the bra, you're like, I'm not going to challenge the bra. Topher Daniel, $4.99. Kenny is the future. He's young. He's growing. In a Canada offense, he played well. No one can replace Ben, but Kenny matured tonight. $4.99 from Topher. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that.
You know what? On around that point on there, because I was actually thinking this earlier today when I was watching I can't believe, but it's what the game I had on was the Cincinnati Bengals. And I really was thinking a lot watching Joe Burrow play that really Kenny I think he has everything he needs to be very Joe Burrow-like, in terms of the way he progresses. Remember, Joe Burrow got beat up pretty hard his first year, but then, really took a jump and some growth into that second year. If Kenny can do anything like that, I think Steeler fans will be extremely happy. Also, Burrow was another one of those guys that got busted on for the tiny hands, and that has shown not to be a problem.
Yeah, that's very true. Brian Brown is going to bust on me for this because I know he hates if I say anything nice about the Bengals. And I think he hates the Bengals even more than Marky D and Mark Davison. Oh, happy birthday to Marky D tonight, by the way. On December 24th, our very own from down under.
Except that even if he's listening to this live, it's already past his birthday there.
Yeah, it is, but I'm still on my time.
We'll still celebrate.
Yeah, we're gonna celebrate it. So, and we got Brian. The Bengals can kiss it, but I will say about the Bengals, man, Joe Burrow is everything that you would want in a quarterback. I hate that he's a Cincinnati Bengal because I really love watching the guy play. And you're gonna see a lot of them, but I think the Steelers could find a way. I mean, there's going to be some battles, and I think the Steelers, with the defense that we saw today, can step up to a guy like that. So let's go back to the running game. We talked about the 3.9 average, going over 100. Big bro, your thoughts on the rushers?
You know what? I will say that the rushers did enough. Sure, have we been putting up some bigger games? Yes. Would have maybe been nice to have a little more and taken a little bit more off of Pickett? Maybe. But the big thing is that as a team, the Steelers did rush for over 100 yards. Now, yes, 21 of those came on that very last play by Connor Hayward, but that play still counts. So the Steelers over 100 yards, and it was enough to keep balance in the offense.
According to Mike Tomlin in his post-game press conference, Raiders did well against our run game. It was really rough and tumble. You really want to see them getting better as far as that goes. And the Raiders did control that game, but they did, like you said, did get over 100 yards. But that last play, that that did contribute. But you don't take it away, and you take that 100 plus. Daniel J., the rushers.
I thought they did what they had to do to get the job done. I think that, and I know this is a little bit slightly different, but, Najee also picked it up in the short pass game, kind of made up for the rushing. And so when you look at his total production as a player tonight, he got over 100 yards, I believe. And so I thought that kind of piggybacking on what Big Bro said there was, I thought that they had to do what they did tonight. They did enough. They converted when they needed to. Kenny Pickett was able to pick up a couple of quarterback sneaks there. So they were able to convert and do what they needed to do to get the victory. I thought they played well.
Let's talk about the receivers. Pat Freiermuth led this team not with targets, but with receptions. 7 receptions on 8 targets. That's pretty much what you expect from a Pat Freiermuth. Fantastic. 66 yards. Deontay Johnson with 7 targets and 5 receptions on 64 yards. George Pickens, 5 targets, 5 receptions. Perfect. 57 yards. You want to see those targets go up and up, and you may be seeing that. Najee Harris led the team in targets. 9, had 6 receptions for 42 yards. Steven Sims, Jalen Warren, and Zach Gentry all had 1 reception. Warren had 2 targets. The other fellas had 1. And Connor Hayward. This is very interesting. Connor Hayward was thrown to 3 times, but he had no catches. So with that being said, 26 receptions, 244 yards on 36 targets, 1 touchdown, and that came at the very end. Daniel J., the receivers.
I thought they played well. I think there was a couple of passes that got dropped that ended drives. That I think one of them ended up being in a field goal attempt that ended up being missed. So that was points off the board. And Pat Freiermuth's down at the end. Outside of that, I think the elements kind of took a toll in that. The opposition was doing the same thing. The Raiders were, there was balls hitting hands and popping off of them. And so, probably the cold had a lot to do with that. So given the factors and the circumstances within what they were playing with, I think they played well. Pat Freiermuth had a game. The yards after catch that he was able to put down on the field was what the Pittsburgh Steelers needed to, carry drives and continue drives. And so he really converted plays on his own several times. I thought he did fantastic to tie it in, especially after not getting a single target last week.
What about you, Big Brosco? What were you thinking about the receivers in this game?
I felt like overall the receivers were fairly efficient. Muth 7 catches on 8 targets, but the one I really liked was, last week George Pickens had 5 targets. I think he only had 2 catches. This week he had 5 targets. He had 5 catches. So he didn't necessarily gain any more in the targets, but the catches and the production came up because he caught everything that came his way. And, I'm sorry. I think the Steelers really found one there when they drafted him. DJ was doing some DJ things tonight. I think he was one of the guys that had one of those drops on one of those 3rd downs. But there was one time, though, also that Pickett kind of missed him when he was open. So all in all, I'd say the receivers did a solid job. Najee, to what Daniel was saying before, picking up 6 catches. He had 6 catches, 42 yards, so he had 95 scrimmage yards in the game. So really, you can almost tack some of those throws to Najee were just quick little check downs, and a couple of those he really made some nice yards after the catch.
All right, I thought the receivers were very solid tonight, and let's talk about the offensive line. Mike Tomlin was asked about the growth of the line. He said tonight they're consistent in getting better, which I thought the running game did have some struggles tonight, but that is a very tough Raiders a defensive line. Andrew Billings was plugging a lot of stuff up, and when you've got a guy like Max Crosby there too, you've got some guys that know how to stop the run, but still over 100 yards. As far as keeping Kenny clean, I don't think we got to check this in the sacks. I don't think there were any sacks.
Nope, there were no sacks.
So, big bro, let's talk about the offensive line.
Again, we've been talking about it a lot over the past few weeks, continuing to see them gel and work as a group. We had a few mistakes tonight. Dotson had that one holding penalty, but those things are going to happen. Actually, when they came back and did the replay on that, yes, he held, but basically he was getting beat, and he went ahead and made a decision to go ahead and turn and go ahead and move the guy the way he was going. And when the guy went to go back, he had his hand on the outside, and the referee saw it through the flag. But the biggest thing I'd say tonight for them was giving up 0 sacks, especially when you had a quarterback who was coming back from missing time with a concussion when he was sacked. So, good job to the offensive line keeping Kenny Pickett pretty clean.
Daniel J., let me ask you this. The consistency of the offensive line, do you think they were better against helping out blocking for the run or pass blocking today?
I think they did probably better during the pass. Kenny Pickett had some clean pockets back there, and he had some time to throw. And a lot of it also had to do with his mobility and him moving around the pocket and making extra time. But it's protection is a group thing. It's the offensive line, it's the quarterback, it's the running backs. And I think as a collective unit, they're doing great. This is, I've said it a lot on my Saturday podcast that this offensive line, a lot of it is new pieces, especially in the center and the right guard position. And those are captains for this team. Those are solid players. Arguably your best player on the offensive line is their center. And so it took time for that group to gel and come together, and not just for them to come together, but for Najee Harris to learn what their strengths and weaknesses are, where the cutbacks are, and those types of things. And as they grow collectively throughout the year, I think they've gotten better overall each and every week. And this week was no exception. You look at, as you mentioned before, Crosby, who had 11.5 sacks going into this game, he got some pressure, but he wasn't really anywhere close to getting a sack on Pickett. And so I think they did a fantastic job. They keep improving every week, and I think they're going to be a formidable offensive line in the future.
Before we go take a break, we got to talk about this every single week. We're going up north and talking about the man from Canada, Matt Canada, and the live chat's not loving the game that Matt Canada called tonight. Big bro, where are you as far as Matt Canada's play calling?
I don't think tonight was as strong as last week. Last week I thought he called a really good game, and he had been calling what I felt had been several good games. Big complaint I got, someone texted to me there towards the end of the first half, was the Steelers, had run the ball. We get down, within field goal range, and we end up then going 3 passes and then kicking the field goal. Why did we stop running the football? It's little things like that come up here and there right now that I'm questioning Canada. it's not so much, like early in the year, I was questioning at times the entire game plan. Now it's just questioning a few thoughts here and there. I had a few places tonight where I thought those things, but they weren't horrible. To put it in Mike Tomlin's words,
he didn't kill us. I didn't mean to step on you. Steelers Fanatic 78 says, watch, Canada will do enough not to get fired, SMH. Daniel J, let me ask you this. Did Matt Canada call way too many passes for the landscape of this game?
I thought so. Going into this game, like I said before, I had a podcast that came out this morning on Behind the Steel Curtain on the audio only side. I said this is a game that you want to get back to some old school football, and that included running the ball, not just playing great defense. And I felt that they may have gone away from it, especially once it got kind of close to the red zone area, similar to what Big Bro is saying. I also felt that they weren't pushing the ball down the field effectively either, and a lot of throws before the line of gain, especially on third down. Now the receivers and many times they were able to make something happen, and Pat Fryermuth was able to get some yards after catch. But I did feel that this game wasn't his best game, but it wasn't bad. It's just you put 13 points on the board, you got a couple of turnovers, you weren't able to capitalize on any of them. It just, that was, somebody has to take the fall on that.
Absolutely, but I got to tell you, gotta love that Connor Hayward play at the end of the game. I will go ahead and take that as well, and I'm taking the win. So let's go ahead, and we need to take a break. We're going to be back right after this, and we're going to talk about the defense, our final thoughts, and go off into the night. So we'll be back right after this on BTSC. It's the post-game show as the Frigid Steelers heat up late to beat the Raiders and honor Franco. We'll be back right after this. Stick around. Welcome back to the Behind the Steel Curtain Steelers post-game show. My name is Bryan Anthony Davis. In for Jeff Hartman tonight, Daniel J, Big Bro Scho, in for Dave Schofield as well, and in for myself as I'm in Jeff's chair this evening. So it's great to be with you. I mean, man, I actually had the night off. Well, really didn't have the night off. I still have a lot of BTSC duties that will happen right after this. So to do all the post-game stuff, just like that's what Dave and Jeff are doing. They are not lounging. They are working diligently. So with that being said, when I saw the end of this game, I'm like, gentlemen, I'm coming on with you. I cannot miss talking about this game. So feeling so good as the Steelers win 13-10, really close to that 13-7 prediction that I had, but I just ripped off not only the Immaculate Reception score, but one of my favorite games of all time. Everything cool happens when you're 12, and the Steelers beat the Raiders to go to the playoffs in 1984, 13-7 on a huge game. I know Big Bro Scho remembers that game.
Yes, he does.
So in Los Angeles, wow, what a great backdrop. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the Steelers of Kenny Pickett, of George Pickens, of Najee Harris. What a great win tonight. Andrew Palladino gives us $10. Thank you so much, Andrew. Hypothetical. Do the Steelers still win this game if Chandler Jones and Perryman stay in? Hypotheticals are hypotheticals. Beautiful night to be a Steeler. Much love, BTSC number 32. Ifs and nuts were candy and nuts. Ifs and buts were candy and nuts. We'd all have a Merry Christmas. So I couldn't tell you. Possibly, but you know what? In the end of that game, the Steelers caught fire. The Steelers were feeling it. So yeah, I kind of think they still win that game, but I don't know. Big Bro, that's a great question.
It's a good question, but it's a question you could sit here and argue both sides for an hour.
Absolutely.
It really is. So in the end, sure, you'd like to think that the Steelers win that game, even if those two guys don't get hurt and are out of the game. But guess what? Those two guys got hurt and were out of the game. The Steelers can't control who's on the field for the other team. All they can do is go out and try to execute, their game plan, their plays against whoever's out there for the other team.
Absolutely. Daniel J., thoughts?
I mean, Jones wasn't really getting a lot of pressure. Kenny Pickett was clean before then. As far as Perryman, I mean, that's debatable. Possibly not. Who knows? But at the end of the day, the Steelers won, and we're celebrating a victory.
Justin Gall, I might be mispronouncing that, so I do apologize. Gives us $19.99. Says Merry Christmas. Thank you so much, Justin. It is a very Merry Christmas, and it's feeling really good right now. Steeler Nation got a great present to unwrap tonight, and got to honor Franco Harris in an exciting way. So just fantastic. Let's talk about that defensive effort, and let's talk about the man that honored Franco Harris coming out of the tunnel with the number 32 banner, the flag. And I thought he was going to plant it right in the middle of the field when he came out. And that man, Cam Hayward, was lights out. I got to tell you, I mean, we don't give game balls on the show, but I know in Dave's article, I think
if Dave doesn't put Cam Hayward down possibly for a game ball this game, he and I might,
Dave
might have words.
Dave doesn't miss that stuff. I'm not kissing his butt because he already likes me, but I'm just saying, no, Dave doesn't miss. Dave's not missing Cam on that one. I think Cam's a slam dunk for that. He was absolutely lights out. Daniel J., what's your thoughts on Cam?
Man, he really showed up. He got a lot of pressure on Carr. He was one of the main reasons why they were unable to run the ball. Kind of took the Raiders out of their game plan. They wanted to run the ball. They wanted to stick to what they were wanting to do, and Cam was a big part of them not being able to and forcing them to pass the ball, force them to do something they're not comfortable doing, and it resulted in three interceptions. And so, I thought he did fantastic. He's showing that he's aging like fine wine. And he's getting better almost every year. I know statistically this year he's probably not as good as he was last year, but given the fact that he didn't have TJ Watt next to him for the majority of the year, he's been dealing with a lot of injuries himself. He's getting back healthy and he's just showing up game in, game out. I mean, kudos to that man. He should be a Hall of Famer.
So I am in Andrew Wilbar's fantasy league, and I have been leading all year long, and I'm in the playoffs, and Josh Jacobs killed me tonight, and I love it. I'm out of the playoffs because of Josh Jacobs, and I love it. No problem. 15 carries for 44 yards, 2.9 average. That's the leading rusher in this league. Man, they shut him down. Derek Carr was second with 3 carries for 14 yards, 4.7 average. That's your quarterback. And Brandon Bolden, just 1 carry, 0 yards. So 19 carries for 58 yards after giving up, what was it, like 39 or 31 last week to Carolina? 21. That's right. I knew it was something like that. Giving up 58. So in 2 weeks, they give up 79 yards rushing. Absolutely incredible. That's shutting them down. Your thoughts on we already heard your thoughts on Cam, big bro, but let's go ahead and the entire rushing defense.
Yeah, the rushing defense just a nice job. I think what happened, when we got burned up by the Ravens a couple weeks ago, it felt like there were a lot of plays where there were guys that were trying to do too much and they were then missing their assignment, meaning they were leaving their gap trying to make a play and thus created gaps elsewhere. The Steelers really stuck to doing what they needed to do tonight, plug the holes, made the tackles. That was the nice thing, because that's the other thing Jacobs is known for. He's known for yards after contact. Okay, he averages over 4 yards after contact. Tonight against the Steelers, he was at 2 yards. after contact on average. So the Steelers really held him down at that. Really just hats off to that front seven for forcing the Raiders to have to throw the ball to try to win the game.
This is where it really comes into play, and you get really excited when you're talking about stopping the run and just tackles, total tackles. Robert Spillane had 12. He had 7 solo. Cameron Hayward had 7 with 4 solo. Then the next one is DeMonte KZ with 4. Go way down, Minkah Fitzpatrick with 2. When you go ahead and look at KZ and Fitzpatrick, that's 6 tackles combined. You got to love the fact that those guys way in center field have only 6 tackles combined, because a couple weeks ago it was like 11 for Minkah and 9 for Edmonds, or vice versa. So, you have those guys shutting you down. That's a big thing. Daniel J., the rushing defense.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're looking at what they've been able to do, especially when that's been kind of an Achilles heel earlier on this season. They've turned that around. They've made that more of a strength of their defense at this point in the last couple of weeks, shutting down 2 teams that are predominantly rush heavy, run heavy. I mean, you can't ask for anything more than that. I mean, a lot of it came from Cam Hayward, pressure up the middle. Larry Ogunjobi, in my opinion, had a better game, and that probably has a lot to do with his health getting better. The whole front seven's getting healthier, and so as they become healthier, this team is becoming more and more stout as far as against the rush. And you're going up against a team that's going to be stout in the running game this upcoming week, so it's going to be a true matchup to see exactly where they're at again. And I think they're up for the task.
That's definitely going to tell a big story. I think they are a lot better than they were at this point of the game last year, big bro.
I missed on talking about somebody there in that rush defense, because somebody brought up in the live chat earlier how we were lucky that the Raiders had that one face mask penalty on the long run by Jacobs. That penalty had to be called because that face mask was actually committed on Alex Highsmith. And what had happened was that face mask was keeping Alex Highsmith from doing what has been his job, and the job he's been very good at for the Steelers, and that's setting the edge. Without that face mask, Highsmith gets upfield more, forces that run back to the inside where there's a whole bunch of black jerseys just waiting to tackle Jacobs. So I do have to bring up how Highsmith has been doing setting the edge. He did not have the tackles tonight like he does some games, but I think it was more that he was helping keep everything forced back into the middle, and you had, Cam Hayward and Robert Spillane, you had 2 inside players then leading the team in tackles.
And that was on Foster Moreau. And so what you're saying, big bro, is the fact that long run does not happen if he is not interfered with.
Yeah, go back and look at it. And I'm sure someone like Jeffrey Benedict or KT Smith would break it down for us and be able to show that, hey, look, that run, that's why they call those penalties, because that run doesn't get where it does if that penalty wasn't committed.
That's absolutely true. I've got to get to this super chat real quick. It's off topic. Kathy Forrid, a favorite of ours, $5. Off topic, but can someone settle the argument? Are the announcers really outside in the weather? They're in a press box, and I don't believe that's an open press box. You might know that a whole lot better, big bro.
You know what? I'm not real sure the press boxes in Acrisure. I know that a lot of stadiums have them where where like the windows open, so that because allow announcers like to sometimes hear what's going on down on the field, not just on their headsets. But I don't know. Tonight, from what I was seeing from the announcers, I was thinking, yeah, they're not totally outside because they're not bundled up with near enough clothes.
Well, you always see a Tirico and a Collinsworth and those big national games in which this was with Rich Eisen, a big national game, you see those guys nestled in, and you could tell that they are indoors quite a bit. So, I mean, it's still not completely warm, but I think they're under cover, Daniel.
Well, I've been waiting for somebody to ask this question because clearly I'm inside of one of the suites at Acroshore. And as you can see behind me, there is some glass that is encasing it. And so it's not completely to the elements. I've been able to see from my seats there that there is some sort of glass. It's not to the elements there in the press box as well, but it is not in the open to the elements as everybody else is.
That's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up because this is, I mean, weather was such a factor. It was like a 12th man in this game for both teams. So really something that took over in this game. Let's talk more about the defense. And before we get to the passing defense, I want to bring this up. This is something that Jeremy Betts put on our Slack channel. It was a tweet by Bill Barnwell. Raiders went 72 yards for TD on the opening drive. Here's what they did after: 14 yards and a punt, 12 yards and a punt, 53 yards and a field goal, 0 yards interception, 20 yards interception, 12 yards and a punt, 13 yards and a punt, 5 yards and a punt, 0 yards and an interception. Can't even say that they're missing Renfro and Waller anymore because they played in that game, fellas. When you hear that, big bro, that seems like a dominating defense.
Yeah, take away that 72 yards on the touchdown drive, the 53-yard on the field goal drive, and you're looking at, just quick math in my head here, about 75 to 80 yards the rest of the game.
Wow, that's domination to me.
Yeah.
Fantastic. If you look at the team stats, and we'll go ahead and bring them up as well. Total yards for the game, 201 for the Raiders. So that's, 72 on that first drive. And like the rest of the game, just complete total yards, 201. The Steelers had 350. Derek Carr was 16 for 30 with 174 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, something that Dave Schofield, something that big bro, something that he brought up. If the Steelers have over 2 interceptions in this game, they should probably run away with it. That didn't happen, but those interceptions were in the second half, so that might have something to do with it. But they really limited a guy like Derek Carr in this game, and I thought it was quite impressive after that first drive was over.
Yeah. After that first drive was over, I felt the defense pretty much dominated the rest of the game, which as that first drive's happening, I'm like, oh, gee, here we go. The Raiders are going to put up 30-something points on us tonight. And then the defense got it together and was really pretty good the rest of the game. The biggest play there, I'd say, the 3 interceptions for Carr were huge, especially because the Steelers were the first team with the turnover. And I think a big turning point in the game was the Steelers, Kenny Pickett's picked off and it's returned into Steeler territory. And on the very next play, Derek Carr, ball goes through the receiver's hands. Arthur Millette picks it off and the Steelers get the ball right back. So to me, that was pretty big. All in all, thought that the secondary played pretty well.
Absolutely. Now, Daniel J., I've got to ask you this question. Let me bring up these stats first. Darren Waller, 4 receptions, 58 yards. Hunter Renfro, 4 receptions, 42 yards. Everybody else, 2, and 2 ones. Only 16 receptions on the night for Raider receivers. The way Hunter Renfro started out in this game, Daniel, I thought he was going to run all over the Steelers. How did they shut him down?
Well, this has kind of been an MO of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense for some time now. They kind of have to figure out what's the opposition is doing to them, and then they put a lid on it. I mean, you can go all the way back to the Miami game where their receivers were torching the Pittsburgh Steelers early on in that game. for the first quarter, and then that was it. That was done. And that's kind of been what's gone on a couple of times this season. I think that was the case this time around. I think the Steelers anticipated more of a rushing game early on, and I think they were caught off guard a little bit by the passing game. And they were able to put a lid on that once they figured out what it was that the Raiders were wanting to do, and then they started to limit them and make them one-dimensional. As far as the passing game goes and what these cornerbacks were able to do with the defensive backs, they came up big when they needed to. I know there was some big third downs that they allowed to get converted, some long third downs that they allowed to get converted. But overall, I think they played fantastic, and then they shut the game down and closed it off with that interception at the end. And so, you can't altogether. This defense had a A+ performance, in my opinion.
I really felt the defense carried them, and that's what they needed to do in this game, and it came up big. Let's talk about special teams.
Hey, before you hit special teams, one stat I wanted to point out on the passing game. Okay,
hit me.
You were talking. There were just a bunch of guys with 2 and 1 catches. Davante Adams, one of the top receivers in the league.
Yes,
two catches, 15 yards on 9 targets.
Wow, I did not notice that.
He led the team in targets, but only had 2 receptions. The Steelers in the game, a lot of times you had James Pierre playing him one-on-one with safety help over the top, and it really seemed to frustrate Adams, and we really made him a non-factor.
Mike Tomlin in his press conference said the agenda was to shut down those 2 guys. He didn't mention their names, but he said 1 the runner, 2 the receiver, and you knew it was Davante Adams, and you knew it was Josh Jacobs, and they really did that. So I'm glad you brought that back. It brought that up. Fantastic. And I got to talk to you about the interceptions real quick. On Bold and Bizarre, my predictions today, I predicted only 2 Steeler interceptions. They got 3. But I got 2 of those interceptions, the first 2 interceptions, correct with Minkah Fitzpatrick and Arthur Millette. So I'm actually proud that I hit on both of them. It's the first time I've got both of them right this year. So feeling really good. If I would have had a Cam Sutton, I'd really be bragging.
That's okay. You're bragging enough now. So
yeah. I'm not going to brag, but I'm going to brag. There you go. So let's talk about special teams. Since Big Bro just called me out, we're going to Daniel J first.
I thought the punting team was they did better, especially in this type of weather. I don't remember a shank happening, which is something that I would have anticipated from Presley Harvin, given the temperature and the weather that was out there. We saw the Raiders do that a couple of times, and so we were on the positive end of one of those, or a couple of those for once. Boswell missed a couple of kicks. I understand it was cold and one of them was distance, but he missed. Didn't he miss a couple last week too, or one last week? It's kind of maybe not concerning, maybe a little bit. He's kind of on a spell there, but overall, he made the kicks when when he needed to, and so I thought it was a little bit concerning with the field goal kicks, but I think the punting team played well this week.
Big Bro Scho, anything else as far as the special teams go? Are you concerned about Boswell?
No, not overly. I don't think he had a great night. He pulled both those misses just a little wide left. I always wonder if guys are worried about, when it's that cold, that they're able to hit the ball hard enough. And I wonder at times if he didn't potentially just kind of overswing at him a little bit, trying to make sure he got enough on the ball, not let that cold, hard football keep him from making it. They weren't horrible misses. He just missed them. Sure would have been nice if he'd have made them, because that game would have been a little easier, on my physical well-being. But
yeah, of course.
But we wouldn't have had that great excitement at the end. So
absolutely, you don't.
I will agree with Daniel J. I thought Big Press actually decent job punting the football tonight. Had a long of 55, averaged about 47 a kick. One down inside the 20. Overall there, not bad.
What were your thoughts on the decision to go for the punt? Because a lot of people in the live chat were not liking that. There were boos in the stadium with that punt, but obviously it seemed to me that Mike Tomlin knew what his defense was doing, and they did come up once again. Start with you, big bro.
That's one where I think at that point, I was a little surprised by it as well. I think at that point, though, Coach Tomlin said, our defense is doing this against them. They're going to continue to try to do these things. He felt they could stop them. They were able to stop them. Ends up being a good call.
Daniel J.
Yeah, I agree. You know, when the opportunity came up and I saw where the Steelers were on the field and I saw how much time was left on the clock and how well this defense was going, I really didn't question the choice to punt there. I felt that, you know, they had timeouts left. They had about 5 minutes left on the clock. There was no need to panic at that moment. The defense was playing amazing. They'd stopped them. You know, the only thing that the Raiders had done up to that point was the first drive for the most part. And so I felt that the Steelers defense was going to come up big there. And you know, if the Steelers go for it in that moment, they don't get it, then they're really putting themselves in a hole.
Let's talk about discipline and penalties. The live chat's talking about how the Steelers got away with some stuff. I am not. I don't recall that as much. Maybe it's the glasses I'm wearing that are different. The officiating, I thought it was fair. There were not a lot of penalties, big bro.
Yeah, there were not a lot of penalties. The Raiders were penalized twice for 20 yards. Steelers were penalized 3 times for 35. Though, of course, for me, the one that that really bothered me for the Steelers was the one after the touchdown.
Yeah, and that I believe we were trying to figure out who that was. I thought right away that was Edmonds.
A lot of people in the live chat were feeling the same way. They were feeling like that was Edmonds. And I believe it was so hard to tell because he was bundled up in a coat and hat and everything else. It also wouldn't surprise me because Edmonds, you know, there's been plays before where there's been interceptions and, you know, he's been on the sideline and, you know, but in uniform and able to be there and celebrate. And I think he just probably got carried away. But that one really could have come back and hurt the Steelers. Thankfully, it did not.
Yeah, but as far as discipline, the Steelers, you know, besides that penalty, you know, 2 for 20, not that bad. I think one was on Dotson, but a very clean game, Daniel J.
Yeah, I thought it was a clean game. I thought maybe perhaps there could have been probably penalties on both sides of thrown on both sides in the first half. I think the refs were letting the teams play. They were letting them play football in this game. And I thought overall it made for a better, you know, entertainment and a better game. I like it when there's less flags on the field and the teams and the players are, you know, the game is decided based on their effort, not on the flags thrown.
And none for going downfield, which is, you know, every game I watch, even if it's not the Steelers, when I see that illegal formation, which is getting called a lot these days, and when I see illegal man downfield, I'm like, no, stop. I don't care who it is. Like I said, I don't care who the offender is, what game, whether black and gold's involved or not. I'm just so tired of that penalty. So it was nice to see nothing like that tonight. But
there you go. You gotta say that one.
I was thinking of that Jerry Cherry Band, that no one wants to slow down the game in that weather. I was going to ask these fellas if they thought that came into play, but you answered it, JCB, so I appreciate it. Those guys aren't going to be ticky-tack when it's that cold, so I definitely get that.
Although I have a feeling that, you know, there may have been some little things going on in that game that the referees weren't calling, but I wasn't seeing anything egregious that was not being thrown. It wasn't like there was a lot of, you know, a lot of times you think of those, you think, wow, they should be calling more pass interference. They're letting them really beat on each other out there. I wasn't seeing that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I need to get back to the Edmonds thing. Look, that can't happen. And I get the passion and the emotion of that night, but you can't, you don't run on the field and do that. And I know that was brought up. I think Rich Eisen mentioned that was brought up this week in the referee symposium, to make sure that that's covered. And then he came out and did that. I love the fact that the guy's passionate, but a veteran guy's got to remember that you can't go on the field. Luckily that they came through, especially with Cam. That wasn't after the touchdown though. That was wasn't that was after the
that was after the Sutton. That was after the Sutton interception right before
I thought somebody
we
said
ran it out at
touchdown.
the end.
Yeah. So definitely. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to go ahead and get your final thoughts, and we're going to get out of here. I do have to explain something first. You notice this ridiculous headband on my head. And this was, my daughter got this for Christmas from my sister this evening. And right before right when the Steelers were driving and Kenny Pickett was driving, she put it on my head. She came up behind me and put it on my head. And next thing you know, the Steelers score. And I'm like, it's a lucky headband. She's like, see, Dad, you've got to wear the headband. So that's why I'm wearing it on the show. So it is a lucky headband. I guess I'm going to have to put it on next week against the Ravens. What do you think, big bro?
Yeah, I think you will have to wear that next week. I think you should probably wear it on all your podcasts this week now as well.
Oh, I can. I can bring out as Hitman says, it's your Cobra Kai bet. I have a Cobra Kai headband, actually. And I have my Cobra Kai gi that I got for my 50th birthday last year, and I wore it to my party. So I've been kicking around putting the hypocycloids on the Cobra Kai headband. So now I don't have to, but I'm going to put one on the Cobra Kai gi. And I think that might be my new victory look.
There you go.
Daniel J, you a Cobra Kai guy?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's always good to have some good luck charm that requires clothing versus not having a shirt on during the game in this temperature.
Oh, yeah.
This temperature, you don't want that.
I quit doing that. I don't watch games naked anymore. So there you go. Merry Christmas for your eyeballs. All right, guys, it's time to get on out of here. Rich, could I have your final thoughts on this game?
Final thoughts. I feel the Steelers really had to win this game. What a letdown this would have been for the entire city of Pittsburgh had the Steelers not gone out after Franco's passing just days before the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. They're going to retire his number. Once he passed the other day, I felt the Steelers had to win this game, and they had to win it for Franco. For me, it was an early Christmas present that they were able to pull this off and get this victory and keep their extremely slim playoff hopes alive.
Daniel J, what are your final thoughts?
I agree. This was a great game, not just for the Steelers, but for the city, for the Steelers nation across the world. Who lost a great man this week in Franco Harris, and and awful timing when it comes to the celebration of his, retirement of his jersey number. And, for the team to come through and pull this off more so than anything else or any playoff implications or anything like that, I think that was what was most important. And they did it. They pulled it off. And that's probably something that's added to this performance was the pressure in going into this game, knowing that the entire city was looking on you based on what had happened earlier this week, and they were able to pull it off. It's a great team win all around the board, and I just want to say Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy Holidays.
Well said, both of you, gentlemen. This was an emotional week, and in fact, something that just still is so fresh. Something that happened Wednesday that broke the collective hearts of anybody that cheers for the black and gold. And to see Doc and Dana out there honoring Franco, to see the crowd, to see the Steelers honoring Franco, to see Mike Tomlin wearing the jersey, to see all of the jerseys. And Mike Tomlin brought that up, that was Pat Fryermuth. That was a Penn State thing, that Penn Stater brought it up. And Mike said, we are Penn State in the post-game show. So that was Pat. That shows me how much of a leader this second-year man is as well. So that means a lot. But this was just a devastating week for this franchise, which was supposed to be a grand celebration. But I've got to commend the Pittsburgh Steelers for how they honored Franco Harris in his absence. A lot of people in the live chat said that Franco was looking down and guiding the Steelers in this win. And you know what? I've got to believe that. So 50 years and 1 day after the Immaculate Reception, Franco struck again with a score. Too bad it wasn't 13-7, but 13-10 is mighty close. I got to tell you, I was emotional during that whole game. Watching Joe Green wipe his eyes with a terrible towel just broke my heart, knowing what this man meant to the team. We've had so many tributes to Franco Harris, but the biggest tribute is a win. And the biggest gift for Steeler Nation, who has endured a very tough year, and to see them still alive on Christmas Eve has got to feel really good. We've had over 300 people in the live chat tonight alone. At 1:03 in the morning, there's still 300.
On Christmas morning.
On Christmas morning, yes.
1:03 Christmas morning.
That shows that you bleed black and gold. That shows that you just love this team. And I am so glad that we're all a part of it together. So, for Big Bro Scho, for Daniel J., my name is Bryan Anthony Davis. You could call me bad, but Merry Christmas. We love you. We adore you. Whether you're in the live chat or listening to us in your car later on or at work, you mean so much to us. So, we will see you next week. Hopefully, it's going to be another great victory for the Steelers. Merry Christmas, and as always, God bless you, Steelers. God bless you, Franco.
Everybody else gets a little tight.